Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our MIE Q&A today. My name is Marissa. I work in the Graduate School of Engineering on the admissions team. So I recognize some of the names that I may have interacted with as you filled out your application and have come to this spot. I want to start by first congratulating you on your acceptance. We're really excited for you to join us in the fall. And we're really excited for you to join us today for our Q&A session. As you can probably see on the screen, we have a lot of panelists here today for you to answer questions too. So if you have any, please put them in the Q&A. And thank you to everybody who pre-submitted some of your questions. So before we kick off the Q&A, I'll just let my panelists introduce themselves. So Emily, you're first on my screen. So if you want to introduce yourself, go for it.
Good morning, everyone. Congratulations on your acceptance. My name is Emily Walters. I work in the Graduate School of Engineering Admissions Department, specifically with PhD students. So if we have any PhD students joining us here today, I know we have some PhD-focused advisors as well, and we are more than happy to answer your question. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Josh.
Thanks, Emily. Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending. My name is Josh Kane. I'm one of the graduate MIE advisors for all MS programs within MIE. So again, thank you for attending and look forward to speaking with you. Aslam, I will pass it to you.
Hi, thank you, Josh. Hello, everyone. My name is Özlem Ergun, so my name is written wrong there, but it's Ozlem. I'm the Associate Chair for Graduate Affairs at the Mechanical and Industrial Engineering Department. And so I help run the programs, all the graduate programs, with the help of the program directors in the department. And then, I don't know, Himlona?
Hello, everyone. Again, congratulations to all of you. And thank you for attending this webinar today. I'm Himlona Paliki, one of the co-program directors for the Engineering Management Program. And we're here to help answer your questions. Thank you. All right, I'll pass on to Victoria.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria. I am one of the co-op coordinators on the MIE team. My job is very, very specific to co-op, so I help students as they are searching and as also teach an ENCP or Introduction to Co-op course. Excited to be here. Congratulations. I'm going to pass it on to Ed.
Thank you, Victoria. Hi, everybody. Welcome and congratulations. I'm Ed Reevy, and I'm an MIE academic advisor working with master's students. Here, I'll pass it to Lucina.
Hello, welcome everybody to Northeastern. We're excited to have you. And I am a PhD student advisor. We work, and my colleague Romana will introduce herself. We work across all departments, so all PhD students will be supported by us. Feel free to email with any questions you might encounter. Thank you. And I'm passing to Romana.
Thank you, Lucine. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Romana Khan. As Lucine mentioned, I'm one of the PhD academic advisors. So look forward to working with all of you and helping you through your journey. And I'll pass it to Pujit.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Northeastern. I'm the grad student ambassador at Northeastern at Boston campus. And I'm here to help you with any questions you have regarding housing or the courses or the labs you want to join in at Northeastern. Yeah, and I'm excited to see you all here in the fall semester. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves. I do see we do have a couple of questions that folks have pre-submitted. So I can start with one that seemed to be super common. So this might be for faculty, so Himlona or Aslam, or even Pujit as a first semester or having figured out your first semester, if you want to answer this question as well. We have a couple of students who asked what they should be doing to prepare to enter into their courses, and if there's any technical skills you think they should brush up on during the summer.
Yeah. So one better way that would have actually helped me was to brush up my mathematical skills, the higher engineering mathematics from your undergrad. Let it be linear algebra, or maybe let it be calculus or statistics. Since a lot of engineering subjects deal with all this math background, it's a good way to, it's a nice way to actually brush it up because you have a gap year of 2 to 3 years, right, after you graduate when you come into your master's degree. Yeah, that would have been really helpful. And the next thing is look up what the course teaches and just do a brief overview before you come in. So that way, when you come in for the first semester, you'll have enough time to catch up with the classes and also spend extra time exploring the city and everything.
I think Pujit's advice was excellent. Thank you, Pujit. I would say definitely math is kind of the common skill across all our programs and all our courses. I mean, just kind of the basic engineering math to start the graduate programs would be the best thing, especially to kind of brush up upon. I mean, anything other than that, I think it's also great advice to say, look up the classes, like the topics, but I would also say, like, don't feel like you need to learn the classes before you come in. There is no need for that. The other basic skill that's for courses or just kind of for professional development is really coding. So I would say if there is any, if you might want to, I mean, not necessarily because you need it in a class, but just coding and programming is really a skill at this point that you will be using as engineers here and there. So it's a good skill to brush up upon, to advance on, to learn more on, so that would be the second thing. And then the third thing I would say is, I mean, read, read books, read news. I mean, that's just also for those of you who might not have English as their first language. I think it's and when I say read, not like, I don't know, YouTube or like, those things, like read things that are serious and long and like that helps you to write and present and things like that.
Yeah, just excellent advice already from Oslam and Pujit. So as Oslam was saying, particularly if you have had a break, like after your undergrad, you have been working for so long and you haven't been taking any classes, I think it might take some time for you to adapt. So that's why reading would definitely help, and definitely brushing up on your math skills that you have learned in your undergrad will be very helpful, guys.
Great, thank you all. So I'm going to transition over to Victoria because I see we have a co-op question in the chat, and we've also, this is a very similar question that other folks have submitted as well. So the question is, apart from GPA, what other criteria is taken into account when it comes to the co-op program? I guess, how are folks eligible for co-op and kind of what is the co-op process?
Great question. So there are a few requirements for students to start the co-op process. So as mentioned, there's a GPA requirement of a minimum of 3.0 that's going to be starting in the fall. And then in terms of credits, students will need to finish at least 8 credits before they can start the search process. So the earliest that a student might be able to start is their second semester. Students will also need to take an introduction to co-op course. That can be done in your first or second semester. Doesn't make a difference which one you do, but that teaches you resume writing skills and interviewing skills, things along those lines, just to give you practice and helping you prepare for the search process. Those are the key ones. And then as you are going through, so I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry, excuse me. But those are those requirements to get started. And then you also need to do an intent to co-op form to let the university know that you're interested in searching, and we'll just double check to make sure you meet all those eligibility requirements.
Great. And we had another question somebody had pre-submitted, and I feel this could also be a pretty common question. For folks who were admitted in the fall who might be deferring, can you let all of the students know if there's really a big difference between starting in the spring and starting in the fall in terms of being eligible for a co-op and starting the co-op process?
Yeah, great question. So for students who come in, at any students can go and do the intent to co-op form at 3 points in the year. You can do it at the beginning of the fall semester, at the beginning of the spring semester, and the beginning of the summer semester. So in terms of in terms of like perhaps waiting, you wouldn't have to necessarily wait too long. You still have that time if you're doing if you start in the spring, then you could get your 8 credits and then potentially be approved to search in the fall, because you'll need to complete 16 credits by the time that you start. In terms of opportunities, there are internships, co-ops constantly being released throughout the year. So it's not necessarily that there's one time that's better than the other per se. There's opportunities year round.
So great. Thank you so much, Victoria. So another common question that we had pre-submitted, so this would mostly be for our academic advising team. For students who have questions about maybe what classes to take, how to register, things like that, who should they reach out to, and sort of what is the process? I guess any of you, if you want to take that, go for it.
I can jump in. Well, I think the basic place to start would be our new student information page. I can post it in the chat if you would like. Here, I'll post it so everybody can see it. So basically that will just kind of get you started with setting up your portal. Then also there's the first tab is course registration guidance for fall 2025. So you just need to scroll, and it's organized by campus and then by your major. And then basically that will say, what the recommended courses is for your first semester. So we would recommend that you just kind of stick with the guidance that's already provided. And then as far as actually registering, you would do that through your portal. So we have instructions there, but I'll post this link here, and it's from the registrar, and it just has a bunch of different videos on how to actually navigate your portal, how you can search for classes, register, add yourself to the waitlist, drop a class. It just has everything there, so that's a good kind of comprehensive guide for you. So I'd honestly start there. And then if you're interested in any kind of other changes, substitutions, I'd reach out to us first, and then we'll kind of address your questions as they come.
Great. Thank you so much, Ed.
You're welcome.
So I do have another student services related question while I have you guys. So we have a question from a student about orientation. Can you kind of explain how orientation works and what types of orientation students can expect to attend, like student services versus like programmatic orientation, something like that?
I can say a few words. There's definitely two orientations that are held by the faculty and the program director. So there is a general MIE orientation that happens usually the week before the semester starts. It's a couple of hours. Usually the associate chair for graduate affairs runs it. So that was me for a few years now. And then we also have program specific orientation that's ran by the program directors. For example, Himlona runs the engineering management, MS engineering management orientation. That's also a couple of hours. And that usually also happens the week before the classes started. I don't think the dates are determined yet, but as they become available, they become, you'll know about it and the dates will be posted.
Oh, and thank you also, and if I can just jump in on that, so those program specific orientation dates, those are going to be on that link I shared. It's in the first paragraph, right where it says as an incoming student, there's a link that says fall 2025 master orientation schedule. So as dates are added, they'll be put there, and then we will also be having a in-person orientation session on September 9th, which will be an event, and then there'll be tables with various student services around so you can talk to them.
And hopefully this does not apply to anybody, but in the event that a student maybe has to arrive late to campus, maybe they have to get a late arrival letter, their visa is delayed, travel delayed. If a student has to miss orientation, what would be your recommendation?
So in general, we try to record the orientations so they can they can contact us, and we generally have someone who's in our MIE office who helps with graduate affairs as well, and that person usually has the recording, and we can distribute the recording so they hear what we've said. But then again, they can always reach out to the student services, the academic advisors such as Ed and Josh, but also to program directors like Himlona and also to me, the associate director. And, basically among all of us will resolve questions and issues.
Yeah, just adding to that, like if needed, in some times or in some cases, we have also done orientations online. So students, if they're not able to join in person, they can join online.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to transition a little over to Puget. We had a couple of students reach out and ask kind of what they should best do to prepare as international students coming into the US. And as our international student on the call, and Puget is a student ambassador, by the way, so he is used to speaking to students from all different kinds of programs. Maybe if you want to share briefly some tips that you found helpful or kind of some of the stuff you did as you made your transition over to the US.
Yeah, so if I would have to do it, I would have to break it down to two parts. One would be the one starting from India, and the other one would be when you are actually taking your flight and coming into the US. So the first thing is to check for your accommodation, because that's the main thing when you come in, because you need a place to stay and then you need to get organized and everything. So look up for accommodations that are actually posted on the WhatsApp groups and also on the apps such as Zillow and other apps. And look up for places that are closer to Northeastern and also that are closer to a public transport line, because that way it'll be very easy for you to come to the university, and also when you go back, it's actually closer to your transportation station. So there's no need for you to walk a long distance. So that was the main thing that I looked up. And the second thing is look up for any labs that are in the university where you want to work on, because professors take in students very early on. So by the time you come here, there are already students working in the labs. So emailing professors and looking for those labs was a really great thing too. And third thing is, if you want to look at employment opportunities in the university, there's a lot of opportunities posted on Workday, the official website for Northeastern. You can apply for those opportunities from India, and then once you get into the job or something, you can come in and then join the job over here. And when you come to the US, the next thing is to look up the broker fee and different fixed deposits that are in the accommodation part. That is a very main thing, because a lot of people actually, that personally I know, were weren't actually a problem, because they did not know the structure over here, how to get a housing, how to basically pay for the housing and everything, and they face a lot of issues early on. But if you need help, I'm actually here to help you. And if you email to the Graduate Student Ambassador email ID, I'll be more than glad to answer your email and answer your questions. And apart from that, yeah, don't actually get a lot of things from India, because everything is actually available here, and there's a common misconception that a lot of things are not available in the US, which are actually required for the international students. But yeah, things have changed a lot, and yeah, you'll actually find a lot of stuff here. So yeah, don't pack your bags too much. Get your essential stuff. That's it.
Thank you so much. And because we have a lot of students, Puget, that ask about off-campus housing, can you just maybe say like how far in advance maybe you started looking for your accommodation, just to give folks a sense of like when they should start looking?
I started looking as soon as I got an admit from the university. It's like 4 months into the time I came into the US that I started looking for the off-campus housing, because housing gets filled up really quick, because the applications open up like 6, 7 months prior to the actual move-in date. So yeah, looking up as soon as possible is the best choice. And also look up on WhatsApp groups, and people actually sublet houses. So that's another great way to get a proper accommodation.
Great, thank you so much. So now I'm going to transition back to our student services team. So the student had a question in the chat. Since selecting your courses is not recommended before getting your F1 visa approval, are late course selection available? I guess I'm not quite sure. I totally understand the question, but how late can students register for classes? And like, what's the, I guess, add drop period, if you could explain that?
So I can answer about, I mean, the students can definitely add courses till the add drop deadline or add deadline. I have to check on the exact date, but that's after a week, 2 weeks after the semester starts. I mean, at least
I think it's the third Monday, the
Oh,
third,
third
the
Monday,
Monday
okay.
of the third week, usually Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
So yes, which means students can register for courses till the third Monday of school starting.
And the thing is, I think there's also a way to register even later if, you know, arrange and with a petition, you know, under circumstances. But you know, it's not recommended, but under, you know, unusual circumstances, I think Northeastern and the instructors are ready to kind of help out with the students who are missing a week or two, or like having a hard time in registration. We are thinking about potential ways of, like, you know, making this easier on the students and maybe adjusting some of our processes given the unusual circumstances. So I cannot tell you anything that is like all set and we have something ready to go, but we are in the background thinking about what we do under these kind of circumstances. So assume that you will get help with these circumstances in the fall.
If I may add to what Özlem has already shared, for all deadlines, I would recommend students to follow the academic calendar, which might be updated given the unusual circumstances. But yes, we do have a process for late registration. There is a specific form that you submit. It's always been there. It might be adjusted, again, referring to Özlem. And you can always reach out to student services and we will have the updates as we go, you know, because at the moment it's hard for us to share with you hard deadlines, but we're here for you. You can email us and we can help you with late registration. The only concern would be that some courses would be full and you might, you know, not get to the one you desire for that term, but you can always catch up later. So we're here to help.
And
Yeah.
if I just, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it goes back to you know, just communicating with us, keeping us in the loop on what's going on from your side. As everybody said, we do have late course registration, but obviously want students to be able to get in as soon as possible and, you know, be set up for success as much as possible.
And maybe just to add to what we all have already shared is that there is also a requirement for international students for OGS orientation, which is a Canvas course. We highly recommend you to do it in time. Don't postpone it, because if you don't, you might a hold may be placed on your account by the OGS office, which is the Office of Global Services that works with international students. That's the same office that issued your I-20 form and helps you with service registration. Make sure you do the course so there is no hold place, which might hinder your registration. So just that's a recommendation, and you know, be careful to that piece as well.
Great, thank you all. So I do see a question in the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer this one. So for those of you who are on the call who may be in our data analytics engineering program on our Vancouver campus, I do see some questions about your PAL and your POA. So unfortunately, we can't waive any of the POA deposits. That is unfortunately a part of the admissions process that we can't. But if you do have questions about your PAL or your POA, the fastest way to get your question resolved is to submit a case through your application. That will go directly to the OGS Canada team and they can help you. So you just have to go to manage application, submit a request and pick the option that says POA. It will help you answer questions about both your PAL and your POA. Right now, the only option is POA, but the OGS Canada team will definitely answer questions about both of those. So unfortunately, the admissions team can't really provide information on your PAL or POA, but definitely connect with the OGS Canada team. That's the fastest way to get your issue resolved. But if you feel like that process is taking a very, very long time, again, you are always welcome to reach out to admissions, and our OGS liaison is happy to check on your particular status. But honestly, the best way to do that is right through your application. So just keep that in mind. So we can transition to another question. I guess this can be for anybody on the panel because I see two questions, but what is the max number of credits a student can take per semester? And is 2 classes actually an online or a full-time course load?
I can take that one. Sorry. So 8 credits or 2 4-credit semester or 2 COE classes, which are usually 4 credits, would be a full-time course load. Honestly, for your very first semester, from the advising perspective, I would say taking those just 2 classes is perfect. That's good. We want to just make sure that, especially your first semester, you're coming here, everything's new. You want to get the best GPA that you can because that's going to set you up for success, with your other classes, co-op. It's kind of more for your benefit to do that. There will be opportunities to take more classes in future semesters. Just send us an email because depending on your program, sometimes we can increase your credit threshold based on your GPA, and then some other programs you have to submit a petition. Generally speaking, though, you do need about a 3.5 cumulative GPA in order to increase your credits.
Great, thank you.
Can I just say something? So usually the master's students will take 2 or 3 classes. That's kind of the norm. Again, I want to emphasize, like in your first semester, you might want to go with 2 just because there's a lot of adjustment in moving to a new campus, to a new city, potentially a new country. So, but I mean, a lot of our students also will take 3 courses or like 2.5 courses. There are some courses that are not like full credit, but half a course. And the thing is, again, like if you have a circumstance that's special and you want to talk about it and do a petition to get some kind of a special adjustment, just come and talk to us. I mean, we help with people's circumstances and have a discussion with you and we advise, like on what we think is probably a better option or a good pathway. So all the people that you see here are here for these kind of discussions as well.
Yeah, and the other thing is we have our summer terms as well. So we have full summer, which would be the typical length of a spring or a fall semester, and then we have summer 1 and summer 2, which are about half the length of a traditional semester. So sometimes I've had students take 1 course over the summer, and that kind of helps them to keep their pace going towards their program end date, especially if you end up going on a co-op. So that can be another way to get to the finish line of your program a little bit more efficiently.
Great, thank you all. So I see a question, and I assume this question is primarily for MS students, but can MS students apply for TA or RA positions? And if so, how can they go about doing that?
So maybe let me answer that question. First of all, they can apply. However, these positions are not necessarily, I mean, there are more for PhD students. We will have some teaching assistantship or course for master students, we call it course assistants. In the past, we've had positions that were given out after an application process that's organized by the department with like firm deadlines and like there's a firm process for applying for these kind of teaching assistant positions. You cannot apply for it now before you're on campus. It's expected that you're here. It's usually expected that you've taken the class and the professor recommended you for this assistantship position and so on and so forth. We shall see how these assistantships, I mean, we don't have a set number that the department gives out. It's basically determined by the need, how many classes, how many sections are being offered that semester, you know, what's the need in number of assistants, what is the budget of the department, right? So these are not, so these are all kind of uncertain elements that we'll have to decide. So this application process and kind of the determination of who actually gets the assistantships usually happens towards the end of a semester, like closer to the start of the semester that you will be an assistant or you're applying for. In terms of research assistantships, you can contact faculty now. Again, I mean, every faculty, and I think Pujit had a different take on that. It's usually faculty likes to see people, students to come and take their classes and then perform well in those classes, interact with the faculty. Then you're more likely to get potentially an assistantship position in a lab. Again, usually research funding is much more dedicated towards PhD students, but there are situations where a master's student might get a position. The other way to get potentially a position that wouldn't be an assistantship, like a research assistantship, which has a certain meaning in Northeastern, but you might still be working, you might still find a position to work in a lab and get hourly paid, you know, so like kind of not being an assistant, but working in the lab as an hourly paid temporary student. That also happens. But again, all of these happen after usually after the student is here and have some kind of build some background by taking classes, build some relationship with the faculty. Honestly, I get a lot of emails from students asking for these. I can't even read these emails or answer them because I'm never ever going to have anyone work with me before those people come and take my classes and I see how they perform. So keep that in mind. I mean, as you're taking classes, choosing classes and you know, like going through your semester, if your goal is to become an assistant or work in research, it's important to find faculty who has similar interests as you do. It's important to perform well, you know, show interest, show capability in topics so that the faculty will be more likely to at least have an interest to talk to you and see if there's a synergy and a fit. But I would say do not assume that you will find one of these assistantship positions. It's a competitive process.
Great, perfect, thank you. So I'm going to ask a question. This will be for Himlona. We had a question from a student who submitted one earlier. I am an engineering management admin. Can I take classes in the business school?
Yes. So students in the engineering management program do take some courses from business school as electives. There are some electives in the engineering management program which are already approved. I mean, electives the students can take from business school which are already approved for the engineering management program. But in addition to that, students can submit petitions to take graduate level business school courses to be counted towards the engineering management program as an elective. There are, however, some restrictions sometimes from business school for a few courses, but to answer the question, the answer is yes, our students do take electives from business school as part of the engineering management program. So there is a limit of about total 12 credits is what a student can take as electives from business school to be counted towards the engineering program. So that's the maximum.
Great, thank you. So we have a question in the chat. This is a very interesting question. Can students attend industrial expos or conferences with permission from professors and the department? I guess in general, can students attend conferences while they're students?
Yes, I mean, of course, we don't have to give permission to that unless, I mean, of course, you're missing like a whole week of classes or something, you'll have to arrange for that. So, I mean, obviously you can attend conferences. We even have some funding mechanisms to help students to attend conferences, especially if you're presenting presenting a poster or giving a talk based on your research here on campus. There are mechanisms that at least partially support funding of the travel to the conferences. We also have very active student organizations on campus, like the Engineering Management what is it? Engineering Management Society? What's it called, Himlana? Blanking.
It's the American Society for Engineering Management.
Yeah, so we have the American Society for Engineering Management. We have INFORMS, which is the Institute for Operations Research and Management Science, and then we have the Engineering Systems Society. Sorry, I'm completely blanking on the names of
Systems, I think. Energy Systems Society. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And among others, but like these three at the very least are extremely active student organizations. So we kind of bring the conference to you in the sense that the Energy Systems Organization, for example, holds a conference on campus every year in the fall semester, bringing in a lot of industry and academic leaders in the area. And then the other groups also bring in speakers from outside, bringing alumni who's working in different positions, come and talk to you. So it's a fairly active campus with a lot that's going on. That's also not like exactly going to a conference, but like really bringing elements that you would be benefiting in a conference to campus.
Yes, that's true. Very true. So as Osman was saying, like, for example, we also have this aspiring product managers club, where students from COE as well as other colleges are part of it, and they do a conference. They did it in spring semester, so every year they do a one-day product conference, which is very popular. They bring in professionals from the product management industry, and they have been very successful. Also, the graduate student government, which is a graduate student body at Northeastern, they do have some funding for students if they want to attend the conference as well. So even if you're not presenting, but I think there is a limit on how much. So you definitely can use those funding to attend conferences.
And our students like enter some competitions, right? I mean, Himlona, you know these better. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
So, from the American Society for Engineering Management, we have a student chapter at Northeastern, the NU American Society for Engineering Management. And we do have a team, at least one team. Last year, actually, we had two teams who participated in the American Society for Engineering Management case study competition. So one team did virtual competition, the other team did both the virtual competition as well as the in-person competition in the ASM conference. So they traveled to Virginia Beach for the conference, attended the conference, participated in the case study competition, and actually they even won. They won second runner-up position. So it was a great experience for the students. The students really appreciated the entire experience.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. So this is a question possibly for anybody, but maybe the student services team might have a better take on this. How long can a student take to finish their graduate school? I assume if somebody has to take like a leave of absence or needs to stop out for a certain amount of time, how long can they take to finish their master's degree, and do their credits expire after a certain amount of time? It's 7 years, I think, right?
I'm not sure when. Oh, you go first, Lucy.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm not sure when credits expire offhand because I haven't actually encountered that in my time yet. But I mean, that's a hard question to answer because I think the biggest factor that can extend a program is gonna be your co-op. So students can go on co-op for a semester. It could go from a semester into the summer too. So it kind of depends on how long you're going to be doing that, and then it also kind of depends on if you're willing to do summer classes. So it can kind of vary. And then again, as we kind of mentioned, you can overload, but you could potentially do it in about, let's say, a year and a half, 2 years tops. I've never seen it take more than that in my experience.
But I think, Lucine, you need to talk about that because there is, yeah.
Yeah, I just will add to what Ed has already said, that there is leave of absence right opportunity for the students, and it's up to 1 academic year, which is like 3 terms in row. But I would highly recommend international students to talk to OGS office before submitting the leave of absence, because the moment you that goes longer than 5 months, then you're gonna have to renew your service, and and I don't want to, because all those regulations are undergoing certain changes at the moment. I'm kind of hesitant to talk too much about the what OGS office will recommend you at that very given moment, but I would highly recommend the students to talk to the OGS international students and then only process it. And for PhD students, the length of the study is 5 to 7 years, and the 7 years is like the extended. And now there was a new policy introduced at Northeastern that summer term has become a required term for PhD students, which used not to be. So you need to be registered during summer, and if you are, not, then you need again to submit a leave of absence, take off basically. So that's a new stuff, and it's only for PhD students, 5 to 7 years. For others, it's 2+, depending on the co-op, and if there were special circumstances for approved leave of absence. And if you go to the website for the leave of absence, you'll see what types of leave of absences might be, requested.
And I think also we should maybe add the part-time students, because this question might be relevant to those students who might be thinking about doing this as a part-time student. So this will be more US based students.
Yes, local students only.
Yeah, local students. And this happens, I mean, we always see some students who are part-time students and maybe taking a course every semester, one course at a time. So there is really, I don't think there is a limit on the number of years you need to finish your master's in, but your credits do expire and there is an approval. So not the credit doesn't expire, but like if you have taken a class, let's say 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and you haven't finished your master's yet, and you want that class still count as your master's class, you need to go through an approval process where the administration comes to the faculty, such as me, and asks that if this class have changed significantly between the time you've taken it and now, so that it can still count as part of your requirement. I think that's a 7-year deadline. Is it a
Yes,
anyone
that's
remember?
7 year, but I have never processed that for any MS student unless that MS degree is required as MS along the way to PhD. Basically, if you're in PhD program as a direct entry student with BS degree and you want to do an MS along the way, you might submit that request later, and if some courses are as old as 7 years and more, then you would be required to submit a petition, and the faculty, as Professor Ergun, would need to approve that that course hasn't changed significantly and you do not need to repeat it for that specific course to count towards your degree. But that's mostly about PhDs. This is irrelevant for MS, because MS degree cannot go as long as 7 years. That's impossible.
Yeah, and as everyone noted, obviously domestic students have a little bit more flexibility for the most part with their course pacing. It is important that you're keeping in mind any scholarships you may be eligible for. So even if you're a domestic student, you may have to maintain full-time status. So you can't just go kind of back and forth between part-time and full-time. So again, just make sure you're consulting with us, make sure you're consulting with Student Financial Services. So it's just something to keep in mind.
And can I just add, jumping off of what Josh just said, thank you for that, Josh. Even for international students that may be coming in with student loans from their home country, lenders sometimes have requirements, like lenders in this country have strict requirements of students to maintain, full-time status or whatever it is, and to do it within a certain time limit. So even for international students that are coming in and taking student loans, you have to keep that in mind and check with the lender as well. Thank you.
Thank you all for your insights on that. I really appreciate that. So we have one last question in the Q&A. We do have about 10 minutes left, so if anybody has any last minute questions, please feel free. Is it possible to do a dual master's degree if you went to Northeastern in undergrad? An example would be a +1 in engineering management and a +1 in mechanical engineering at the same time. I don't believe so. Is that correct? You would have to completely finish one degree and then apply to the next, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about +1, I think it's only 1 +1 with the undergrad. So I don't think they can do 2 +1s, I mean, 2 masters with the +1.
And can I just add something to that? So if a student does do that, a +1, and they get done with that, and then they want to continue on with another master's after they're done with that, just keep in mind courses that count towards the undergrad and the +1 MS program. They're double counting. Those courses cannot count towards another degree. So that's university policy, no triple counting, at the most double counting. Counting towards 2 programs, can't triple count a course.
And also that usually applies for certificate programs too. So like you should
Yes.
definitely check to see like double counting, triple counting rules, but there's usually a limit on the like you cannot do the triple counting.
Yes, even I think for double counting, there is a limit on how many courses you can double count. With MS and certificate, it's maximum 4 courses, 16 credits you can double count. I think that's what I understand from undergrad, PS, and +1, the double counting is also maximum 16 credits.
Thanks. Thank you all. So one last question we have, how often do students take 3 classes as opposed to just 2? And do most students take just 2 classes? I believe so, correct? Most students just take 2 classes per term.
Yes.
If I can say about this, like, yes, 8 semester hours is the general rule. Some students may go up to 12 semester hours, which is 3 courses. If there is a need to finish the program early because they were on COP and they have some job offer and they want to, process their OPT. And as a PhD advisor, I wanted to also add this piece that PhD students might take one course for semester hours along with research course or just a research course, which will ensure their on ground and full-time presence. So that's a benefit of being a PhD student as opposed to MS. So there is a little bit of more flexibility. And I'm sorry, Hilmona, I interrupted you.
I think you're good. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that, I mean, it's like a lot of our students will take 2 classes, but also a lot will take 3. It's just that you have to be careful about how much overload you're doing. The graduate courses are the graduate courses. It's expected that you kind of learn. It's not like an undergraduate course where, like I think in an undergraduate course, there's more hand-holding, making sure like you're doing this and that. Like in a graduate course, you do get these you're expected to kind of catch up and make sure that you're learning, and there will usually be a project and homework. And so it's quite a bit of material. And then in the unfortunate circumstances that if your GPA goes below 3.0, you will be placed on probation and you have to get out of probation within a semester. So you don't want, I mean, if there isn't like a real need or like a real capability, I would just be careful about how much overload you want to put yourself under, just because like if you go under probation, then it's a lot of stress, right? And you don't want to do that. Like you just want to make sure that you're at the right pace for you and for your life and other circumstances in your life. I mean, we see a lot of students who would do the overload and then keep missing classes because they were also interviewing for co-op and this and that. It's just not an excuse, right? You cannot, like, those are not legitimate excuses to say that, oh, I had a lot of interviews, I had to prepare for them, I had to take them, so I missed classes, I missed this. Well, at the end, you get a grade. So just be careful about that.
And I just wanted to jump into, if you don't mind me adding on from a co-op perspective. So there is a maximum amount of credits that you can have before taking a co-op. So basically, you cannot end your degree on a co-op. You have to have at least one semester after. And if you are overloading and doing 3 courses at a time, that can affect how long you're able to search for co-ops. You can, if you don't find a co-op in your first search semester, so say that you are admitted in the fall and then you meet all the requirements, you can start searching in the spring, um, start searching in the spring for a fall co-op the following this following semester, and that doesn't work out, there's a possibility of you being able to search again in the fall for another spring semester. But if you have too many credits, then you might not be able to do that. So you want to be mindful of that as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Victoria. We only have about 5 minutes left, but while we're on the topic of, overloading classes, Pooja, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about like what your course load is like and how manageable it is? And if you've ever taken more than 2 classes, can you talk about that as well? Oh, I think your audio is out, unfortunately, Pooja, sorry.
While he's fixing that, I was going to add a quick note to kind of jump off what Aslam talked about. In the unfortunate event that a student ends up going on academic probation, I just want to add this because I've had this come up with other students. In the unfortunate event, if a student is on academic probation, please know that it stays on your transcript that, that a student was on academic probation that one term. So, students, we are definitely here to support students, and we want to students to succeed and get them out of academic probation. But in the past, I have had students ask me, well, now that I'm out of academic probation, can that be taken off my transcript? And the answer is no. It does become part of the permanent record. So that's why we also, advise to be very, very careful about overloading and, don't put yourself in that situation if possible. Just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So for the majority of my semesters, I only had a course load of two subjects. I tried taking 3 classes one time during the spring semester in 2025 because I wanted to graduate early. Because I had a job in mind and I wanted to graduate early. But then, unfortunately, the 3 classes had coursework assignments and also had 2 midterms each and also a final project. So that is when I thought, 3 classes with all these coursework and also midterms and also final projects is a really big thing to handle in one semester, because whenever you take a class, the professor would teach you, would actually give you a really good surface and a small deep level understanding of the class. But then it is your responsibility to chase different tangents inside the course. And chasing different tangents into the course will actually help you to build a really good holistic understanding of the class and really good holistic understanding of the technology too. And that way you'll have enough time to not only just finish your homeworks and projects, but also follow different leads in different paths. Just go down different rabbit holes and explore what the actual deep understanding is and what actually is happening under the hood. And yeah, to actually do this, if you take 2 courses per semester, that is a really good enough time for you to have a different understanding, also do your own projects during your off time, and also have some your personal time too. But if you take 3 classes, it's going to get really hectic, and also you'll not have a lot of time doing your own projects. And also, if you are working as a research assistant or maybe a person in a lab, you'll not be able to dedicate enough time for that. So yeah, taking 2 courses is a really good sweet spot. But if you really want to push and take 3, I would suggest, if you have something at the end, like a job offer or something, pushing for that is a worthwhile effort. But then if you have nothing at the end, I think taking 2 courses and exploring a lot about the course is a better option.
Great. Thank you so much, Pujit. Really appreciate your insight on that. So for everyone on the call today, we are at time. I want to first thank all of my panelists for taking time out of their busy summers to join today. I really appreciate all the insight and all the answers that you provided for our students today. And to all of our students who joined today, thank you for taking time out of your morning, afternoon, and evening. I know you're all over the world, so thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions that were not addressed or answered today, I put the admissions email address in the chat box. Please feel free to reach out to us. And if we don't know the answer, we're happy to track it down for you. So once again, thank you all for joining today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a good day, everybody.